He asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough now, O Lord. Take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he lay down and slept under a broom tree, and behold, an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." And he arose and ate and drank and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. Elijah walks into Jezreel. Why would Elijah go to Jezreel? Why would he go to the same place that Ahab's going to? Ahab is out to get him. He goes into Jezreel. He must have been thinking that this battle is over. We won. Like, God showed how powerful he was on that mountain. There's no chance that Baal worship continues after this. The prophets have been put to death. There's no way that this continues. There's likely, victory here, total victory. Even the people on the mountain were shouting out, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." His life's mission, restoring the worship of the true God, seemed to be accomplished in this moment. But that's not what happened. It wasn't total victory. It wasn't revival. What actually happened is Ahab goes back to his wife Jezebel, and he tells her about his day. Like, "Honey, I had a really bad day. Let me tell you what happened up there on the mountain." God's fire from heaven, the death of the prophets, like Jezebel's now leading a non-profit organization. Yeah, if you like that joke, I must tell you I stole it from a book by Walter Kaiser. If you didn't like that joke, I must tell you that it's not my original joke here. Jezebel is a bad person. That's an understatement. Jezebel's violent. Jezebel worships this false god. She has put to death many prophets before Elijah, many worshipers of the true God. And so Elijah knows this is a genuine threat, that Jezebel is coming after him. Jezebel's going to put him to death. She makes this oath, "May God do to me and more also if you're not like one of those prophets by this time tomorrow. We're coming after you, Elijah. You're going to be dead. I've already killed plenty of other followers of Yahweh. You are not a concern for me. We're going to put you to death." Now, I've never met Jezebel before. I've never met a person with that name, Jezebel. And there's good reason for that, right? Because she was a bad person in the Bible. She was this real serious person that did not worship the true God, worship these false gods, tried to cause the whole nation to run away from the true God. I was thinking in sports, when they retire your jersey, that's a really good thing, right? Like, you've really distinguished yourself amongst your peers, and no one shall wear your number anymore. We're retiring your jersey, putting it up in the rafters. That's a good thing. If they retire your name, that's a bad thing, right? There's not a lot of Adolfs in Germany these days, I don't think, and I've never met a Jezebel, right? She was a bad character. Have you ever seen those pictures online where it's expectation versus reality? Have you ever seen these? People put two pictures next to each other. They say expectation versus reality. It's a product you ordered. You thought it was going to be like this online, but you open the box and it's nothing like what you thought. Or a recipe you made. You saw the picture on the internet or in the magazine, and then you made it, and it's like it didn't look anything like the recipe. I have this one here from Parenting. Yeah, you've already seen it there. Parenting, expectation versus reality. This is how it's going to be when I feed my kids. They're going to be smiling and happy. No, they're going to smear it all over their faces, right? Expectations versus reality. If there was a picture like this of Elijah's life, Elijah's expectation versus the reality, the expectation would be, I walk into Jezreel, the whole nation says, they come up to me and they say, "Elijah, we were so wrong to worship the false god. Will you help us see how to worship the true God?" Revival. Ahab and Jezebel, maybe. They come to Christ, or they come to worship the true God, Yahweh. Maybe there's, this is potentially what Elijah, we're not told exactly his thought process, but we are told that he walked into Jezreel. Jezreel. That's not what happened. Expectation did not meet reality. Reality was, assassins are coming after you now, Elijah. You better get on your way if you want your life to continue. And so Elijah's response is understandable. He's afraid. And he runs. And he runs a great distance. One end of the nation into Judah. He leaves the nation of Israel and goes all the way to Judah. And we find him in this place where he is in absolute despair and depression. Events have turned against him. His expectations were crushed. The reality is serious and dangerous, and he is afraid, and he runs. James 5:18, we've mentioned this verse a couple, that God would withhold the rain, and God did. And then he prayed that God would bring the rain back, and he did. And the point that James is making is about this faith, this great faith, that he was a regular person. The only thing that was different about him from you and I was that he had great faith. Elijah was a man with the same nature as ours. And I have trouble relating to the praying for it not to rain and seeing that happen, or praying that fire would come down and consume a sacrifice. But I have no trouble relating with what Elijah's experiencing here. Discouragement. The circumstances not turning out like you thought they would, and you find yourself in this period of despair. He was a person with the same nature just like ours. I think we can relate to being afraid at times, unsure of how things will turn out. So Elijah runs, and we find him underneath this broom tree, a desert tree of some kind, maybe a juniper. I think some translations say juniper tree. And he's in despair. He's dealing with this uncertain, complex, ambiguous situation. By the way, the physical feats that Elijah performs in this passage are pretty impressive, just as a by the way. He runs from Carmel to Jezreel. That's about 20 miles. And he outruns the chariot, and we're told that he was able to do that supernaturally. That was something that God helped him to do. But he's like Usain Bolt type speed, outruns a chariot. And then he gets to Jezreel, and then he runs for his life, and that's something like a 100-mile distance from one end of the country